What up, world? They call me Chaesu, and we all make mistakes. So some time ago, friend of the channel, Sena, made a video about the mistake she made while she was in Japan and South Korea. As I was watching this myself, I started thinking about the possible mistakes I might have made while I was in South Korea. Now, for those that are new to the channel, I actually went to South Korea for the first time during the summer of 2015 as a Hanyang International Summer School student. All of that was documented within my web series, Soul Control, A Month in South Korea. However, in the midst of my departure and my return, I personally did not think about any mistakes that I might have made. I was just happy with the fact that I was able to go there for the first time. I was actually able to experience the Korean culture firsthand. I was happy to be able to use Korean on a daily basis. And I was just happy with how well I adjusted in Korean society within a short period of time. However, if I were to do it all again, these would be the mistakes that I would try to avoid at all costs. So the first mistake I made was not booking a room beforehand. Now I have to explain this a little bit. Hanyang University has 3 options in terms of room and board: on-campus dorms, off-campus dorms, and single housing by way of sunny house. I chose the 3rd option because I knew I would not have to worry about any curfew. One little problem though, I was not able to check into my room at Sunny House until Friday morning. I got to Seoul, South Korea on Tuesday evening, so I was pretty much scrambling trying to find places to stay for the first 3 nights that I was there. So where did I end up staying, you ask? Well, the first place I stayed was a jjimjilbang called Spadex. So yes, my first experience in South Korea was going to a jjimjilbang, and I personally recommend it if you're not self-conscious about your appearance. But you do get to experience the saunas, the salt rooms, and all sorts of great stuff in there. The second place I stayed after that was SP Guest House in Itaewon, and that was also a great experience because the owners themselves were so hospitable. And my original plan was to stray away from Itaewon as much as possible due to the reputation of having an abundance of foreigners. However, I learned that there are just as many Koreans there as there are foreigners, and that place is actually a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Now, in terms of room and board in South Korea, had I known that they were very accessible and very cheap, if I had known that in the past, I would have done it completely differently. I probably would have stayed in SP Guest House all 3 nights, in contrast to a jjimjilbang one night and then SP Guest House afterwards. The second mistake I made was not getting a phone SIM card through Hanyang University. And yes, with Hanyang University, you can get a SIM card through them, but the process seems so daunting to me personally that I decided to just get a SIM card from a convenience store. Now here's the catch with those SIM cards. They only work for 2 weeks. You can't really pay anything on those just to recharge them. I tried and they never worked because I noticed that my data was not working at all, and I was missing a bunch of messages that I had gotten from who knows how long until I got connected to some Wi-Fi. The phone SIM card fiasco was met with this weird hike down the mountain that Hanyang University is built upon to the SKT phone dealership that is close by. And I would not be surprised if that was the dealership that was working in junction with Hanyang University to supply the students their SIM cards. I went down the hill, I then hiked up the hill with a new SIM card and feeling better about communicating with people for the remainder of my stay. The third mistake was not bringing earbuds with me. Now, for those that know me, I tend to walk around with these headphones from Seoul Republic because they are very comfortable and they sound great. Now, there's a certain airline that we will not disclose that was giving me a lot of grief about my headphones. Not because they were loud or anything like that. It was because during takeoff, I had to take my headphones off. However, they were not giving anybody any flack about their earbuds, but I think there was a policy that said that earbuds were allowed during takeoff and landing. Now, I'm pretty sure they were looking at my headphones and thinking that they were gonna cause a choking hazard if during turbulence or anything like that. But the thing is, the cable disconnects from the engine, so I kinda didn't really see the concern. Now, I'm so upset that I made this next mistake because it is such a base level mistake considering how much of the Korean culture that I know, and that's removing your shoes while indoors. The situation happened while I was at SpotX. I was checking in with the receptionist and then I noticed these elevated steps. I was already on one and then there was another and then there was another. So in my head I'm thinking, okay, on that final elevated step is when I remove my shoes. So I get to the second level and I'm going through my bag just to get a towel and things like that. That's when the receptionist says, I'm sorry, but you have to remove your shoes. I was confused. I said, wait, isn't that not the third step where I remove my shoes? She said, no, it's right there where you're standing. I was so embarrassed. I did not know what to think, but she just laughed it off. I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of people that have done this before, and I'm pretty sure that's not the first time she had to explain it. I'm just upset at the fact that I didn't even think that I was going to make this mistake, and lo and behold, I make the mistake. The next mistake I made, which I can fake my jet lag, is waking up early, with the exclusion of waking up early just to get to class. Korea as a whole tends to start at about 10 o'clock in the morning, with the exception of 7-Elevens, GS25s, and CUs, which are complete godsends. But if you're waking up dumb early, you're not gonna be alone, but just know that you are not going to find a lot of things open except for the 3 before mentioned convenience stores that I had just mentioned. This next mistake I made is one as a Korean learner, and that's using loanwords when allowed. There is many a loanword in the Korean language, but sometimes I try not to use the loanwords just because it helps with my vocabulary and also my memory with that vocabulary. A big example is when I got my SIM card, I had to find something small just so I can access the slot and change out the SIM cards. So I needed a paperclip. Now I know paperclip as 2 different words. The Korean word 종이집게 and the loan word clip. I went to a lot of coffee shops asking if they had a 종이집게, and not many people knew what I was talking about. They actually had to look it up, and when they figured out that 종이집게 was actually clip, they asked me why did I use 종이집게. I said, it's because that was how I learned paperclip. They said, oh, I understand. We don't have a paperclip, I'm sorry, man. It wasn't until I got to City Hall where the security guards knew exactly what I was talking about, and they were very helpful. They gave me 2 clips in order for me to change my SIM card out. The next mistake I really feel bad about, and it was not accepting a drink offer. Now, I'm thoroughly aware that Korea has a very strong drinking culture, but I'm not much of a drinking person. I never really liked the taste of alcohol, and plus, I don't take pleasure in getting wasted. That's kind of not fun to me. No disrespect to those that do like to do that, to each their own, to own their each. The situation that came to mind was when I was heading north up Tasano just to get to Sunny House, which is on the intersection of Tuegero and Tasano. I passed a convenience store and there was this family just having a great time at the tables in front of that convenience store. One of the elders stopped me, pours a shot of soju and hands it to me. I tell him in Korean that, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm a suchi. A suchi is someone that doesn't handle their liquor very well. I really don't drink, to be honest with you, so I don't know whether or not I can handle my liquor or not. But he seemed so sad and so disappointed at what I said. But I didn't get why at the time. And then I explained it to one of my friends and they said, oh, you just turned down an extension to friendship. And man, did my heart just sink. I really felt bad. Now, this is not to say I didn't drink a little bit while I was there. I tried chomcharam, which I believe is one of the flavored sojus, and it wasn't bad, but I only just wanted one shot of it. And I also shared a Long Island iced tea with GE on her birthday. She bought this big, ridiculous glass, and I couldn't let her drink that by herself. The next mistake I made ties into my jet lag, and it was not staying out later. What I completely forgot about with South Korea is how late it stays open, despite the fact that it opens rather late. I was actually in Hongdae at the time, and I realized that if I didn't catch that last green line, I was gonna be stranded there. I actually did end up catching the last green line, but it never went to my stop altogether. The last stop it went to was Ujido Saga. I just went east on foot, just enjoying the sights and whatnot. I could have taken a taxi, obviously, but I was just so enamored with where I was that I just decided to take the stroll personally. But if I could have done it all again, I could have just stayed in Hongdae. There would have been a bunch of food for me to eat. There would have been a bunch of clubs or bars for me to go to, depending on the age limit. And I would have been just fine until 5 o'clock when the subways would have started running all over again. The next mistake I made as a movie fanatic was not catching a movie at a CGV theater, because I've heard so much about these theaters. I've heard that they are mad fancy, very elegant. I already know about the assigned seating and things of that nature, but I also heard that the concession stands are a completely different monster to concession stands in movie theaters in the United States. So in the last full week that I was in South Korea, Amsal, or Assassination, made its box office release, and I really wanted to see that movie. However, the day of, I was a little busy, and also I knew that tickets were gonna sell out very fast. So I decided to try for Sunday, but a friend of mine wanted to meet me in Myeongdong on that day, so I decided to honor that promise. But if I could have done it again, I probably would have tried to see Amsal as early as humanly possible, just to make my appointment in Myeongdong. The final mistake I made, and I still can't believe I made this mistake either, I feel very bad that I didn't pull this off, and that would be not visiting the Talk to Me in Korean office. For those that do not know, while I was in Seoul, I attended a TTMIK party that was hosted by Talk to Me in Korean, and it took place near Han River in the Mapo area. I got the chance to meet the likes of Seokjin, Juyeon, who was fairly new to the team, and of course the big homie himself, Hyunwoo. At one point, I believe I said to Seokjin I was going to visit the office before my departure, and I completely overlooked that altogether. So I am deeply sorry that I did not get to experience the whole office together and meet the team as a whole. I'm pretty sure there's going to be other opportunities, but I still feel kind of bad for all of that. So I don't know. So this concludes the mistakes I made while I was in South Korea. Many of you may consider these more as regrets than they are mistakes, and I am open-minded enough to see where you're coming from. However, if you've been somewhere, what kind of mistakes have you made? Let me know in the comments below. With that being said, they call me Chaesu, and I'll catch you in the next video.